Hello and welcome to BlenderTutor.com. My name is Tom Latvies, and in this two-part tutorial series, we're going to create this Super Blintendo. In this part one, we're going to go over modeling of the system, the controllers, the wires, the game cartridge, and this little instruction booklet. And then in part two, we'll go over texturing, materials, lighting, and compositing of this image. So let's get started. So this is the finished image that we will be creating. Aside from these two wood textures, the floor and this little TV stand right here, everything I just created in Photoshop, so I will just be providing these textures for you in the next tutorial. But right now, let's start a new file. As you can see, this is my finished scene right here. It's pretty basic. And what we're actually going to do in this, for this image, is I'm going to go over basically creating different blend files for each model. And then we're going to import those models into one final scene to put it together. So I'll be going over that as well, but that'll be in part two. So let's get started. Just create a new image, or new blend file anyway. We can get, well, we could actually keep the cube. I like to move the light and the camera onto layer 2, so I'm just going to press M2 to move those out of the way. Alright, so we could start with our cube. We're going to start with the system itself because that's actually the easier one. So I'm going to provide some reference images that I took of my Super Nintendo. So we'll put one for the front image. And let me just find my references real quick. So we'll do one for the front. I think I'll go with this one. And I'm just going to turn the opacity all the way up. And we're going to try to center this as good as we can. So I'm going to scale that up a little bit. On the X, we're going to just try to basically get it right in the center. That's pretty good. And then we'll just move this all the way down to there, just to line it up. And in fact, I might, here, let's do this. Let's move the cube up along our x-axis line, this red line. So GZ1. And then we'll just move our image up as well. So on the Y, I'll just move this up till it's lined up. There we go. Okay, cool. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now let's just line up the, here, let's bring this up so that it's up to there, lining up with this line right here. Now press 3 to go to the side view. We'll add another photo. Go to the same folder. And we'll go to our side view. I believe it will be this one. And once again, I'll put that as, I believe, right. Opacity all the way up. We'll raise this. All right, that's pretty good. And now, so as we can see, this is actually not to scale because we want this line in the front. It's going up to this line. So we want that on this level right here. So we're going to have to scale this image up a little. So we'll get it roughly to where we want it. A little bigger. Maybe 5.73. 5.75, And let's see. Bring this up a little more. There we go. So yeah, that's pretty good. It's pretty lined up. I mean, this isn't going to be exact, but it'll be good enough for what we're trying to achieve. So now I'm just going to scale this on the side axis all the way. Now this is I took this with my phone camera, so it is definitely not, 100% accurate in terms of the perspective. The camera on my phone is very wide angle, and it's gonna mess with our image, so it's not gonna be a perfect reference, but it's gonna be good enough for what we need. I'm pretty happy with this right now. So let's go to the front again, and I'm just going to put in a cut right down the middle, and we're gonna cut half of it off. So just delete it, delete those vertices, and then we will add a mirror modifier. And for now, we could leave clipping off. We'll eventually want to turn that on though. So I'm just gonna bring this all the way over. Do it like that. And I'm actually gonna bring the bottom up to about there. So let's select these bottom vertices right here. And you know what? Actually, turn these off. Just select these. Click Shift S. Selection. Shift S. Cursor to selected. There we go. And now, if you press period on your keyboard, the 3D cursor and the 3D widget right here will jump to the location of the 3D cursor, whereas if I hit comma, it'll be on the selected vertice or in between the selected vertices. So for this bottom section that we're going to do, I actually want it to be at the 3D cursor. So select those bottom ones, press period to jump to the 3D cursor. Extrude, press Z to turn that off, and then scale in. And we want to scale in to about that bottom line. And then extrude down. And then scale that. Once again, we'll want to select these two vertices, Shift S, cursor till selected, and now we can once again scale that down a little. And the reason we're doing this is because I want to scale evenly into the center of it. If I weren't doing it like that, say we select these up here and I press comma, if I hit extrude up and then scale in like that, as you can see, instead of scaling towards the center of our model, it's creating its own half, and we do not want that. All right, so real quick, let's actually just add 2 loop cuts right here, scale them down till they're very tiny. And then once again, select all these, cursor to selected, period. All right, and select all of our lines we just made, and then extrude Z and scale in, just scale just the tiniest bit. Because there, now you can see we have our little line down the center, which is what we want. Okay. And now what we're going to do is just actually bring these out. So you just highlight all of these. I'm using box select by hitting B. And just hit GX, move that out a little just to give it a little curve. All right. And now at the side view, let's see what we need. So clearly this isn't moved out far enough. So let's bring this forward. And we'll bring this back. And also these two need to be moved back as well. And this will need to be moved forward. As you can see, it's not lining up perfectly. For one, my image is a slight slant. And for two, once again, the perspective of the lens is a little messy. So it's not going to line up perfectly, but we could kind of use our best judgment to figure out where it should be. And since this isn't really, it doesn't need to be 100% accurate for this image, this is perfectly fine for what we need. So let's clean this up a little, move that over. Oop. Make sure you have all your vertices when you're box selecting. You can very easily mess yourself up if you start missing some vertices while you're moving stuff around. So now let's just move these two up here over. And you can see this is a little more straight. Just move the 3D cursor to the center for now. And then over here, once again, we'll grab all these, line that up around there. This one will go out. Bring that over there. All right, and we already have a pretty good base for our Super Nintendo. So let's, before we start doing these extrusions over here, what we're gonna do is add some edge cut or edge loops over on this side so that we could bring this up. So what I'm gonna do right here is, as you can see, this edge loop now is kind of bending because we don't have straight cubed edges anymore. They're at an angle. So I'd actually like these to be nice and clean. So if I just scale these along the y-axis, if I, with this edge loop selected, hit S, Y, 0, and you can see it straightened that out. And now I can just move that right around there. And I will create another one over here. Do the same thing. So S, Y, 0, enter. Move that over. And now we will take these, extrude that upwards. And then we can just take that, move it in a little bit. And same with this. Move it in just a little. And then as you can see back here, this edge is actually higher than the front. So we'll do that. And then one last thing I'm going to do is add two more so that we could grab these two and move that up a little, because as you can see, this has got a curved surface. All right. So we're getting our basic form here. Obviously, it's blocky, and our Super Nintendo is going to be soft. So what we can do, just to get a look, well, it's a little soon. We're going to add a subsurf modifier pretty shortly to start getting these curved surfaces. But we want to get the basic blocking out of this shape first before we do any of that. So basically, our last, and I actually might just clean these up real quick. Scale along the Y again. Just move that where we think it should be. Same for this one. Okay. And now we could go for the front view. And we're going to add a cut right here. And I'm going to scale that along the X, 0, straighten that out. And same for right here. Okay. And now what we're gonna do is actually, let's go to the mesh select mode. I'm hitting Control Tab. And I'm gonna go to Edge. And I'm gonna select this one right here. And if I actually hit V, it'll rip that so it's separated from each other. So now they're not one continuous edge anymore. And you'll see why I want to do that in a moment. But for now, basically what we need to do is we want to extrude this whole surface. You can see it's got a little indentation down here. So that's got to be extruded under this face under here, this whole front half, and then this whole top face has to be extruded out. So what we're going to do is go to Control Tab, Face, and I'm going to select this, 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 and that. And then we're going to just zoom in here to select these. If you hit C, you can highlight these. It's a little annoying to actually select these. All right. Just make sure we have everything. Looks good. So what we're going to do is extrude outward. Oh, you know what? Sorry. Let's go to Edge one more time. Select this one down here as well. We're going to do the same thing. Just rip it. Go back to Face mode. And now let's just select all of those one more time. Just selecting these by right-clicking and holding down Shift to select multiple faces. All right, so I have all of those again. Now I'm going to extrude. Press Z, hit Alt S. And one last thing, we don't want to scale along the X, so I'm going to hit Shift X. And now I'm just going to scale that up. And that's about right. So if you look now, we've just scaled that out like this, which is what we want. But now we're just gonna have to clean up these faces over here. So as you can see, this is moved beyond where it should be. So we'll go back to vertex mode, highlight these, just bring these back there. Do the same thing down here. Now what did this do? So that moved out the other way. So select those and we'll bring those back in. And now I'm going to add in an edge loop right here so we just combine those. So select those both, hit Alt M, and we could do, well, let's select the one that's connected to the body actually, and then select this one second. So hit Alt M at first. Same thing over here. If you select a vertice or a face or an edge or anything, object, if you hit the period on your numpad, it will center your view on that area. So it's very useful for when you want to scroll in to something. So we'll grab the one on the body, then the one we just extruded, Alt M at first. Cool, so those are all connected now. We'll do the same thing up here now. We're gonna add a new edge loop. Try to zoom in here, over here. So connect the one connected to the body, then the other one, Alt M at first. Same thing over here. So body, other one, Alt M at first. And now, just to make sure everything's connected, I'm going to select this edge. Cool, everything is connected and moving together. Now this one down here actually, if I hit 5 to go into perspective view, we could go inside the model. And now I have an extra, basically, edge here that I don't need anymore. I can actually just go to face select, take that, hit X, delete that face. X face. That is an unnecessary face. We don't need it. And there's going to be something similar down here that we could go look at real quick. Where is it? Actually, we might be okay down here. Something. No, there is an extra face in here. All right. So what we're going to do is go into vertex mode. There's 2 right here that we need to combine. So Alt M, you just hit add center because they're directly on top of each other. Right here. Alt M, add center. And I think we're good now. So that should give us a pretty clean base model. So for now, we're pretty much done with the basic model of this. What we're going to do is add a subdivision surface modifier. So if you hit Control 2, it'll automatically add that and turn it into a horrible blob, which is fine. What we're going to have to do actually is give it a whole bunch of definition. So we're going to just start adding more edge loops. So add one in, bring it all the way over here, and then another one all the way against here. And then same over here, bring that all the way over here. We could actually move that. This is our subsurf modifier, so put that at the, oh wait, no, we do want the mirror first, so that's correct. All right. Oh, you know what though? In the middle of our model, I believe there are some faces over here that we don't want. Yeah, here. There's a face right here. Delete that. There we go. Oh boy, I think there's something in there we don't want either. Yeah, there's a whole big long face down the center of this thing. Oop. We don't want any of that. We'd actually just select these. Delete faces. Let's look over here. Highlight these. Faces. There we go. That's looking more normal. This is kind of looking interesting actually. Just like this, but we're gonna just keep on adding more edge loops to give it more definition. So you can put 2 right here. Scale along the X. All right. Let's keep on going. Let's add one down here. Oh yeah. All right, there we go. There's still something is not fully connected down there, so we'll have to clean that up. So let's just add some right here. Move that right about there. And one all the way up here. And then one down here. And as you can see, it's starting to get there. We're going to have to add some up here now. So let's add one up there and down here. And then also we'll go this way. And we will go this way. And oh, we must have something in there as well. Yeah, I think we have some faces. More pesky faces. So grab all of these faces. Let's see, is that, oh, there's still something. Oh yeah, we still have these top ones as well. So let's just select those, that one, and that one. Delete those. Okay, there we go. Cool, so we're getting there. We are getting there. Could probably add one right there to clean that up. And same thing over here. And then really all we have to do is fix this down here and we're pretty much done with this. We'll just have to cut a hole right here for our game cartridge and then add a little button space right here and have our little reset and power sliders. So in my modifier settings, I actually like to turn on optimal display so that we're looking at it. It doesn't look so nuts. And also that kind of, you can see anytime we have like a dip like this, we know there's something there we don't want. So you can see there's something goofy happening. So we probably have a little tiny face in there that we don't want. There we go. Yay, we're happy now. And we're also gonna, let's turn on smooth shading. There we go. Cool. So let's just fix this down here really quick. Okay, so I'm back. I think, so we have an extra edge right here that we don't actually need. So I'm gonna delete that right there. And let's see. Still not really fixing that issue. Although we can add an edge right here, which we'll want to do because that's going to actually add some extra definition. Okay, so we'll let it add one up here. And it'll let me add it right there. It just doesn't want to let me add one down here. So let's just keep on searching. Okay, I see. We have, okay. So let's select this. And let's hit W, subdivide maybe? Okay, so we added a vertex right there. Here's what we're going to want to do. We can actually use the knife tool. Cool. So to use the knife tool, just hit K. So select this vertex we just added by subdividing that edge. And you could snap it here. Let's actually line this up perfectly for where we want it. So I believe we're going to want it lined up with the rest of these, like on this edge right here. So once we've done that, we could come inside the model, hit 5 to go into perspective view to give us a little extra room. So basically what we have right here, this face and this face are n-gons, which means they have more than 4 vertices, which is why we don't have continuous edge flow going throughout the model anymore. And that happened when we were extruding things and adding extra edge cuts without incorporating it into these faces. So we'll just basically divide this up until each face is 4 vertices. So let's go into vertex mode. Select this one, hit K to go into knife tool. Select that, click it to there, hit enter, and now it'll basically turn that into a face. Now, alright, cool. Well, that looks good. We'll want to do the same thing right here. So, okay. Select that one and that one. Hit enter. And now we'll just want to do that one more time. So let's go into edge mode again. Select this edge, hit W, subdivide. Now go to vertex, select this new vertex that we just made. And now you're just going to move that all the way over here, GX. Move that right there. And we'll do the same thing now. 5 to perspective view, knife. So select that, go to there, enter. Go to this one, enter. And now, yay! It'll let us add a continuous edge loop. So let's do that. Move that up. And I am just so happy now. Cool. And that really is our model. Let's clean this up real quick. On this extruded portion right here, we don't actually need that to be extruded. It could be a flat face, so we could just bring that out like that, because we're actually gonna end up cleaning this up. So let's take that face, bring it out like that. I'll actually just start grabbing these, straightening them out. Just like our method before, SY0, SY0. I'm basically straightening these out so that what we're going to use this front face for is our controller ports, and those actually don't have that line running through it. If you look, they actually have separate lines on there that we could add separately, but right now we'll just clean this up a little. Oh boy. Let's move that forward. Take all those, SY0. Let's grab all of these, SY0. I could actually just grab that entire front. So that you can just select everything up front here. Okay, and we'll do the same thing over on this side. Yeah, I don't need to grab these, only the very front ones. We'll just scale all those at the same time, so SY0. All right, so that'll be good for now. Let's save this file. So let's save. I'm going to call this SNES console 2, since I already have one. And let's name this object. Right now it's just called cube. Let's call it SNES console or SNES body, whatever. All right, so let's just add those last few things really quick. And actually, I believe I'm going to want to bring these over just a little bit as well. Just to give that a little bit of curve. All right, and if you look in the original picture, you could see that there are actually ridges down here, but in my render I had it basically from a top-down angle so that you don't really see that bottom part. So I didn't bother modeling that, but if you'd like to, feel free. But I will not be going over that. And also, there's a few other things I'm not going to be going over. I'm not going to actually model in this port hole right here because I'm going to just have the controller cables plugged in anyway. So you don't need to model that if you're not going to see it. But if you want a really high detailed model, feel free. It'd probably be a good exercise. And then also, yeah, I guess there's not too much. I'm not going to model any of the holes in the back either since we're not going to see that. I will have a fake wire coming out of it in the render, but for this we don't really need it. And then let's add a top-down section now since we'll need that to model the rest of the console. So let's add one more. Reference. And I believe I used... Let's try to use this one, although I used this one for when I modeled it because it was closer up detail, but this should be okay. Let's try that. So we need to scale this image up now. And also we want that from the top view only. So let's do opacity all the way up. We're going to scale it up way bigger. There we go. And I'm basically using these lines to line up with that. And now move that over just a little bit. Line that up, and we're pretty good right now within our dimensions. We're a little off in the back, and right here it's a little bit off, but it's looking pretty good. So this is going to give us a good idea of the last few bits that we need to add. We need to add this hole right here for our controller, and we need to add a little hole right here to add a button in, the eject button. So with our model selected, let's go into edit mode, and I'm going to add a edge loop right here. Let's scale that along the Y again to clean that up and move it right up for that button, and then add another one, SY0, then move along the Y axis. Line that up for the button, and basically all I did for this was I grabbed that and I deleted the face. Now I have a nice round hole, which I don't want, so I'm just gonna once again add a edge loop in right there to straighten that out, and then add one in right here to clean that up. Doesn't need to be perfect necessarily because we're going to add in the button, which will take care of that. And actually what we could do is, if I just hit Alt right click to select that edge loop and extrude it down a little, extrude it down more now. So that's our hole for our button. And then all I did was hit Shift A, put a plane in there. Move that up. Let's look at over here. Let's bring that over here. Scale it along the Y. Let's just put that into place. And we're going to cut it in half and delete this half. And then move that over here. And then once again, we'll just add an edge loop, move it all the way down, add in 2 edge loops for this. Scale them along the Y just to give it definition. And then, face mode, I'm just gonna select that, hit L to select all of the parts. Move it up now until basically line it up. It's going to be a little indented like that. Actually, that's still too high, so let's move that down. There we go. So there's our little button. I'm going to clean up some of this. Then I'm just going to select that edge. Go to, so I'm hitting Control E, edge slide. Just move that in a little more. And move that up like that. I just want to have that kind of a little sharper edge. Alright, so that's pretty good for our button. And that's the other reason that that's not connected itself is because now we could give it a separate material and a separate texture. Now, one other thing for this. Let's grab that. Let's just edge slide that up to the length of our hole, and you know, we'll just grab that as well. Edge slide it over there. That's fine. And now we just need to know that this is the end of where we want to grab from. So we'll grab all of these and just delete them. So you just delete the faces and let's see, getting a little bit of weirdness there. Select all of these. Let's just really quick hit A once to deselect, A again to select all. For one, let's remove doubles. We might have a few. I just removed 5 right there. And then also recalculate just to make sure all of our normals are facing the correct way. So right here, I might just add that and add that. That got rid of our, well, that's actually okay because we want to have a little bit of an edge. So that's good. We've got a nice square hole cut out now, and once again, with edge mode selected, I'm just gonna hit Alt right click to select that edge, extrude down, so Z, and then extrude Z again. You just take that down. And normally for this we would need to create this flap that moves, but since I'm just gonna have the game sticking straight out of it, I'm just gonna leave that hole as is. And really quickly now, just to add this reset button, this is really one of the easiest parts. I'm going to add a cube, move it over here, just scale it down until it's about that size. Let's scale it along the X until it's the correct size. Let's go into face select mode real quick. I'm going to select the bottom of that cube and delete that because we'll never see it, so we don't need it, and it's just adding extra geometry that we don't need. Scale down along the Z, and now let's just move that up till it's about the height that it needs to be. We could look from this side view as well. I'm going to move that a little more this way. But that looks to be about the height that we wanted at. Oh, well, actually, forgot. We're going to have to compensate. So let's do it around there. And obviously that is not correct. So what we're going to do is, as we've been doing, just add 2 edge cuts. Scale along the X to bring that out. And another 2 scale them along the Y. And we could add 1 just in the center and just leave it where it is, and that's pretty good. And now all we need to do, go into face select, take this top center face, extrude, turn off Z and scale in, and then move it down. And that's pretty much all I did to get that little indent. We might actually be able to add a little edge loop in there. There we go. Just scale it down a little. And, well, you know, I still think that's too much. I'm going to leave it like that. We might just want to move that face down even farther. That's pretty good. And you can see that the default two subdivisions might not be smooth enough for that, even if we go to smooth. It looks okay, but if you want for render, you could have it on 3. You can see it looks a little better with 3. For the view, we could keep it at 2 though. And that's that for the actual console. That's all I modeled when I rendered mine. If we want to just set this up to see what it looks like real quick, let's just add a plane, scale it up. What are we doing? All right, I don't know what I did. I did this when I was modeling this last time too. I don't know if this is a bug or if I just hit something. I'm not sure what I hit. It won't let me scale in object mode, so I'm just gonna scale it up in edit mode. So now I have my plane. I'm gonna actually move it to the second layer and then just turn both layers on. All right, let's just take a look. I'm gonna turn this into a sun. Keep it at 1 strength for now. I'll just look at it in rendered mode. And yeah, it's pretty good for what we need. So, cool. Let's save that. And now I'm going to create a new. All right, so from our new file, we will actually delete the cube this time. We're going to start from scratch. Let's move these 2 items to layer 2. To a top view. And let's add in our reference image. Oop. Open, we'll go to, I believe this one, reference. And I used this image. I found this online. I will either provide a link to this file or I will just take a photo of one of my controllers to provide with the tutorial. But for now, we'll just use this one. So what I'm going to do is insert a plane, rotate it along the X 90 degrees, move it up here. I'm going to do 2 things. For one, I'm going to cut it down the middle and delete half of it. And then I'm going to actually delete those 2 as well, so we only have 2 vertices, and we'll just move that down here to the X. Cool. So we just have 2 points basically. And what I'll do is I will add a mirror modifier, and we'll just start extruding this till we get around here, and we'll take 2 of these points, Shift D, and then just move those down to the bottom part of the controller. I'm gonna move that over a little, and then we'll extrude this out to about there. And now what I'm gonna do is add in a circle, and I want this to have 16 points. I did some experimenting and I found that gave me enough resolution in the model. to get all the details that we want in. So we're going to scale that up to about the size we need it at. And we're just going to delete a few of these inner vertices that we don't need. Okay, that's fine. All right, so this one, I'm just gonna hit Alt-M and, oh, at last. And then up here, I'll do the opposite. Well, yeah, at last again. So now we have the basic shape of our controller. You can grab that, and I'm just gonna extrude it down, be about that tall. And then what I'll do is add another circle in, 16 vertices again. I'm gonna scale it up. So it's a little bit bigger than that gray inner circle on the controller. And then, all right. And now what I'm going to do is actually duplicate that. Move it down here. Line it up with this line. And I'm going to hide the whole top layer real quick. Hide that. Now we can look at it from the top-down view, and I'm just going to start filling in those faces. Okay. Let's fill those in. We'll fill those in. And with these, I will, okay, so I'm gonna turn clipping on right now. And then if I extrude these along the X, it'll hit that center point, and then they'll all merge together. So now they can't be separated. And now really all I have to do is fill in these. And right here, I will add in, let's see, let's try that. Fill that in, and then fill those in. And this isn't the cleanest topology for this bottom of the controller, but for one, it's the bottom of the controller. We're not going to see it at all. And for two, it's just going to be basically a flat plane, so it's not going to matter too much. It's not going to be animating or anything. And then for this, I'll just start filling this circle in right here. Oh. Do it like this. The joys of filling in faces. All right, so we have our bottom of our controller fully filled in. Now I'm gonna hit Alt-H to unhide that top layer, and now I'm gonna do the exact opposite. I'm gonna hide the bottom. So I'll just box select all those and hide. Then let's get back to filling in more faces. So I'm going to just fill in all these again. then fill these in. Okay, here's where we're going to start differing from the bottom. So for one, I'm going to grab those and extrude and scale down till it's about the size of that gray circle. And now from there, I'm pretty much going to end this part because, in fact, I'm going to undo that scaling in right there. Right here, I'm happy with where we're at. I'm going to apply our mirror modifier because now the two halves are going to differ enough that we don't want it to mirror each other anymore. Already you can see this circle is getting in the way of our select button, so I'm going to select all those, scale that down to around there, and reposition it a little bit, and then extrude it in one more time to get, in fact, let's basically get this circle into the center of this D-pad. So that's about right. So now I can extrude it down. There we go. Basically want to extrude it around this inner circle right here. And then what we'll do is extrude that down ever so slightly. And then extrude it down a little more. And then we could extrude and scale in a little bit. And this is where it's going to start to get fun. Basically, we need to model out a cutout for our D-pad because it's sticking out of the controller, and the plastic would have the cutout in it. And we're going to have to do the same thing for these select and start buttons. And right here, we can do that, although I didn't in my original one because when I was rendering it, I thought it actually looked good enough without it. It's not as pronounced with these buttons as it is with the start, select, and the D-pad, so I'm not going to model that section of the controller. All right, so let's keep on going. Right now I'm just going to model these buttons real quick. The way I did that was I took a UV sphere. I think I brought it down to like 8 and 8, and rotate that along the X. No, actually I didn't. We're just going to keep it like that. I'm going to scale this down till it's about the size that I want it. Rotate 35. Okay, so I'm going to rotate this 22.5 degrees till I basically have a stop sign octagon shape. And I'm going to, never mind. So from this, let's go to the side view. Select all those bottom pieces, delete them, and then this, I'll just extrude down a little. Then from the top view, we are also going to delete all of these vertices. And then I'll just basically take that, duplicate it, rotate it 100 degrees or 180 degrees, move it down to there. And then I'm just going to start connecting these. All right, and so now I'm gonna grab that, move it down, Now let's just rotate that. Okay, and that's actually about the right size. So I'm just going to place it over that. Rotate it a little more. Okay. And then just Shift D, move it along the X, put it in place right there. And that is a pretty good placement of the buttons, actually. So I'll put smooth shading. We'll have to clean that up later. That's basically just messed up normals that we'll have to fix. And I'm also going to add the subsurf modifier on this. So Control 2 to add that. Soften our controller up. Starting to take form now. Our next course of action will be adding the cutouts. Let's turn on optimal display for that. We're going to add the cutouts in the controller for these buttons. So let's grab, that's a good area. So we'll take that edge loop on our button, Shift D to duplicate it, and then let's select the button, select one vertex and hit L to select it all, and just hide it. And we'll do the same thing for this one. So Shift D, duplicate, then hide that button. Now we need to just start connecting these pieces. So I'm going to combine those together. Combine those together. Combine those together. And it's just, yeah, now the fun begins of actually trying to connect all of these with the rest of the controller. So let's actually take that, extrude it this way, and I'm going to scale along the X to straighten that out. And let's see, what can I do here? None of these are really lining up perfectly. We'll do that. We'll just combine those. And now, as you can see, we'll be able to start adding edge loops in here. So I wanna combine all of these real quick. Let's extrude these down. Let's see, what do we want to do here? I want to do something like that. And then I might add in an edge loop right there. Take those four, fill that in. And I believe I'll take those four, fill that in. We'll already have to add one right here. Fill that. I'll have to add one right here. Fill those four, and fill those. All right, so now I guess I could do that, that, fill those. So now we're gonna have to start adding some more to really get the detail there. And actually, this might work if we get a little running edge loop all around this. That'd be nice. So let's extrude that down here. And then we'll also extrude this out like this way. Let's scale that up a little. Do that. Fill those in. Now, okay, we still have our continuing edge loop. I'll extrude this out over here. Let's see. We'll have to clean that up. Yeah, we'll be able to clean that up. That'll be okay. All right. Let's see. I'm going to delete these, actually. I'm going to extrude that out. Fill that in. Extrude that. Fill that. That'll go there. Okay, so I'm thinking that will connect to that. Oh, this is actually works out. So at last, this one will combine with that one. So that we have a face right here now. And we have this face. And now we have this edge loop right here. All right, so now we just need to fill in this bottom portion of the controller. So right here, we'll probably just add that in. And let's move it out to the outer edges, actually. And we'll have to clean it up along this ring up here later. But for now, I'm going to select these two and just move them out a little. And actually, I'll add one more in now. Get that together. Extrude that down. Fill that. We might have to throw one up in there. All right. So let's extrude that out a little. Fill that. Extrude that again. And then fill these four. Sorry if I'm going a little fast here, guys. All right. So this right here, it's actually okay since that's not connecting to anything. We could just add in an edge loop right there. Fill that face. We'll fill this in. And I'm thinking right here we'll do a little edge slide. Move that over here. And actually, you know what? I am going to add one in right there. Fill that. Fill that. Fill that. Let's take those four and then these. You know what? Actually, no. I'd like those to be connected, so let's Alt M at center, and then let's do that. And then let's select all and do recalculate to clean that up a little. Oh boy. Cool. Well, now let's hit Alt H. With everything selected, we'll recalculate. And I'll actually see if I have any doubles in there. Yeah, I had a whole bunch. Actually, no. I'm sorry. Undo that. We don't want to remove doubles yet. Because if we do that, since we have a couple of columns from these buttons that are completely overlapping, it'll just think that that is doubles, and it'll add the buttons to the controller, and that would undo all the work we just did. So let's take both of those now, and we're going to extrude them down just a very little bit, and then extrude them down much farther. Cool. Okay, now you could select all and recalculate. In fact, with this button, I'm just going to scale it down a very little bit. Let's do S.9. Actually, that's far too much. S.98. And I'll do the same for this one. S.98. Just so now you could see we've got a little indentation in our controller where that button is coming out of. It's starting to look like an actual controller. So we will once again hide the bottom. I'm going to leave that alone now. And now for the most fun part, it's going to be this. The D-pad and the cutout for that is by far the most difficult part, because not only are we going to have to cut out the D-pad, but when we create the D-pad right here, then we have to have indentations in it for these triangles and the circle. So this will be fun. Let's get into it. I added a cube for this. Scale that down. And just pretty much put it in the center right there. From this angle, I'm going to scale it along the Z to about there. And I'm going to go into face select mode and just delete that bottom. Oh boy. Delete the face only. Okay, go back to top view, and now go back to vertex mode, and let's start extruding. All right. So that's a start, but now we need to give it some definition. So let's add 2 right there, scale it like that. And we'll also add 2 right here, scale it on the Y to about there. And then we'll just start scaling in like this. Actually, what I would like to do is go into wireframe view so we could actually see. You can see these gray lines right here, kind of give us an idea of what it'll look like. And we'll just add one up here. There we go. And that's our general shape of our D-pad. I could add in one edge loop right there. And yeah, there we go. That's about the shape, obviously, but we have a lot more detail to add to it. But first, before we do that, I would like to, once again, let's select one of these, duplicate it, and line it up with the controller. Actually, that seems to be perfectly lined up with the controller. So now let's select the D-pad itself, hide it for now. And now we have the joy of combining this all into one coherent model. So I believe what I did was I'm going to take those two and actually subdivide it. And we're going to create a little triangle right there. Although it's technically a quad still because it does have 4 points. So then we'll grab these and just keep on going. And I'm going to do that over here as well. So once again, grab those two, subdivide, grab those 3 points, and this top one, fill that in, these 4. I'll just fast forward this so you can kind of watch, and once I start doing something new, I'll slow it down again. Okay, so now I'm going to extrude this out, basically create a little face right there. Going to combine those two, and then I believe we'll just have to subdivide this as well. So subdivide, create a face right there, and then we'll create, oh no, I'm wrong, sorry, did not need to do that. We have 4 right there, we have 4 right there, and then we have 4 right here. Alright, so once again, I'll fast forward this real quick and do this, and you could follow along. All right, so that part is done. So once again, I'll just grab this whole outer section, and I'm gonna extrude that down just a little bit, and then extrude it down further, and then I'm gonna Alt H to bring back our D-pad. I'm just going to scale that down just like I did those other buttons. So S 0.98. That might even be a little much. Let's do S 0.99. There you go. And now you can see we have our little indentation for our... Boo, that's not looking great. So let's once again recalculate. And we're getting there. We're getting close. Let's just finish this D-pad real quick. It's not fun, but it's not the most difficult part. So let's actually right now hide the controller. We only want to look at the D-pad. So for the first part, the circle's actually pretty easy. I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna have to do though? We're gonna have to add in 2 more this way, and we'll scale those down like that. I'll have to do 2 more edge loops this way, scale them down like that. And what I'll do is go into face mode. Scale that down. And just indent that like that. It doesn't need to be that far down. And basically what we'll have to do is kind of turn this into a circle now. Come on. So let's grab these 4 points. Scale up. And we'll be doing the same thing in here. Once again, we only need to be working with the top right now, so let's hide everything else. Okay. Let's go to edge. Select those edges. Scale those up so that they're circular. You know what? I don't want these. Don't want those. We'll only have that very inner one, and we'll just scale that up. And let's scale that up a little, bring it up. And I might even add an edge loop in there. Okay, and we'll clean up that circle a little bit. Let's undo that edge loop real quick. Go back to edges. Select these 2. Scale those up even further. And that's getting to where I want to be. Might what we can do now is go to face select. And we'll just select that whole ring right there. And let's smooth it a little. And now let's deselect this outer ring. So holding Alt Shift, right click there, and let's bring that down a little. There we go. And then I might now add an edge loop in and bring it up like that to sharpen that edge. So that's a pretty good circle in there. I don't want to hide that just to see. It's hard to see what we're looking at. But yeah, that'll be pretty good. Let's actually just this is not the most easy thing. We're just gonna have to select this entire circle. I kind of want to scale it down a little bit, because I feel like our circle might be a little big. Yeah, I think we want it to be about that big. There we go. That's perfect. Cool. So we have that. Now we need to do our triangles. So what we're gonna do is go to edge select and take that, scale this one up. We want it to be about the length of that, and then we'll take that, and it's going to be about that, and basically that's going to be our triangle. Let's do that real quick on all of these. Scale that down a little. This one, we'll scale that up. and then just move it into place. And this reference, as you can see, is a little bit off, so we're just gonna kind of measure it up as best we can, and you know, we'll use our creativity and our judgment to get that as close as we can. So now let's extrude that down. We could select all of those at once. We'll just basically bring them down once and then bring them down again to about the deepness of our inner circle. And as you can see, that is not exactly what we want. So what we're gonna have to do, just like everything else, we're gonna add some edge loops to sharpen those. And that's about it. Those might be a little harsh. How deep they are, a little deep, I mean. So we can just raise those a little. And let's go to edge mode. Select all those. Raise them up. Cool. So we have our finished D-pad now. All we need to do is very quickly add in our little buttons, and then we're done. So let's add in a circle. This now, just for the buttons, could be brought down to 8. Put it right there. Oh, you know what? Let's get rid of that. Let's make sure we're actually in edit mode when we're adding that. So let's add in our circle at 8. Bring that over here. Scale it down. You can see there's this inner circle inside that we could use to line up the button. That's about right. And for this, all I'm going to do is raise it up to about there. Extrude it down. Let's go into face select mode once again. Well, it looks like the top isn't actually a face, so good. So let's extrude that in. Extrude it in again. And then we'll just fill this real quick. And there is a button. And we'll just duplicate. And then we'll just select both of them, Shift D to duplicate. Bring those over on top of these now. They should be spacing wise exactly the same. Cool, so you can see those all line up. Guys, we almost have a controller. So now what I'm gonna do is similar to how I created the start and select button. For one, I'm gonna just hide these buttons for a moment. And I'm going to add in another circle. Line that up to the gray oval going around the buttons. And take those, delete them, Shift D, rotate 180, and just fill that in. Do that now. And we might need to bring this down just a little bit. And let's rotate it. I believe it was 22.5. No, this will be more. What are we going to rotate that to? About there. That'll be fine. Let's line that up. That's pretty good. And then this, cool. I'm actually going to raise it just a little. And then extrude it down. Extrude it down again. And that I will duplicate. And we'll just place that right there. Just line it up. And once again, let's make sure everything has smooth shading. And let's where do we recalculate? Cool. Looks like that edge isn't actually sharp enough, so let's select that edge. Go to edge slide, bring that up. Okay. And I mean, really, once again, we don't need these bottom faces at all. I usually get rid of them. Okay. And now all I need to do really is let's unhide everything. Select our inner loop. Let's scale that in to about there. And then extrude ever so slightly down. And then farther down. And then duplicate that. So it's a separate part. Bring it back up to about the height of the controller, maybe a little farther down. And then just extrude in. Then hit Alt. You know what? Let's scale it up so it's got a little bit of outer part, and then extrude in one more time. Alt M at center. And pretty happy with that. I might move it up a little more. And actually these might be raised a little too high. So let's bring that down a little. Cool. And then basically the last part is these two pink buttons are actually concave. They're going down. So we can just grab the, just the very inner parts, and let's just move that down, and then we'll do the same exact thing with these other two. The two purple ones are actually convex, which means they're raised. Cool. And the last thing I'm gonna do is add a little, oh boy, we got something messy over here. Oh, I bet, yeah, we have some, oh geez. We'll have to clean that up really quick. Okay, so let's clean this up really quick. It looks like we have on the top you can see we have all quads, but down here you can see we have an n-gon, which is more than 4 points. So what we're gonna do is, how can we fix this? I'd rather not disassemble the top since it's got everything we need. So let's destroy the bottom a little. I'm gonna delete those faces. And I just feel like that edge is our problem. So I'm gonna delete that edge. And I feel like I'm gonna delete, well, I'll delete this one too. And let's see, can I rip this? Basically here. These two things we don't need. No problems on that side, so I'm just gonna combine these. Scale them in along the x-axis. Basically, all I have to do is combine these points at center, and then all right, let's hide everything real quick. Let's grab all that, hide. Let's take those two, combine at center. Okay, so now we have one. All right, and let's delete these 2 points as well. And just fill that in and fill that in. And then we're gonna do the same thing here. Combine at last. And then actually, yeah, that's fine. Let's do Alt-M at last, and then take those 4 and just fill that in. And now let's just fill in these 2 faces. And now we have our wonderful edge loops connected again. So let's just add 1, raise it up. Take 1, raise it down to harden those edges. And the last thing that I did was similar to our Super Nintendo body. I added 2 right there, scaled it down, and then just extruded it in. So extrude Z. Just a bit. Maybe a little more. There you go. Just to get a little edge right there. And actually, if we want to harshen that a little more, just add 2 more in. There we go. Just to make it look like two parts. And that's about it for the controller for modeling. So let's save it. So I'll just call it controller 2. Save. All right, and now very quickly let us create one more thing. We're going to create the cartridge, a game cartridge. So let's get a reference image. Reference Super Mario. There we go. So just going to scale that up and along the X. As you can see, this isn't perfectly centered, so for one, I like to turn the opacity up. And let's move it over just a bit. Okay, there we go. Oop. Okay, so I'm actually going to grab these, move them down along this line. We're going to extrude that like we did the other one. Again, this one, I didn't model the entire cartridge. I didn't model this part because we never see it because it's just in the console. So all I did was this top half of it, basically. So let's cut that in half. And let's delete that, add a mirror. And very simply, we're just going to do that. And then, right. For one, let's turn this to top only. Obviously, this is far too fat to be a cartridge. So let's bring that down to about there. And now let's go into face select mode, grab that one, and grab that top one. That is all we really need to extrude. All right. So let's just extrude this. Extrude. I do Alt S. Turn off the Z, and then also we don't want to move along the X, so hit Shift X. And you can see this is a little bit goofy. We'll have to do some cleaning up of this. So I'm going to move this up on the Z a little. And then down on the Y. And let's go into vertex mode. Just grab all of these. SZ0 to straighten them out. And then let's move that down as close as we can. And then just to perfectly straighten it out, SY0. And as you can see now, we have our our basic shape of our cartridge. And actually for this, we could just delete the bottom, since once again we'll never see it. Delete those faces. And you know what I'm going to do? This is kind of difficult to work with from top-down view, so I'm going to change this to a front view. And then I'm just going to rotate it on the X 90 degrees. Cool. All right, so that's that. And now we could hit Control-2 to add a subsurf, turn it into a blob, and let's just add some definition here. Turn on optimal display and hit smooth shading. And what do we got? You know it. We got some interfaces that we don't want. Let's delete them. Should it just be those two, I believe. So delete those. No, we have a third one. Third pesky face. Cool. And if we really want, we could add a little definition in here as well. Look at that. Okay. And now the other thing we're going to do, we're going to really quickly just add in, I'm just going to do 3 of these lines right here. So let's SZ0 to straighten that out. Line that up. Add another one in. SZ0. Okay, and then I'm just gonna do all three of them real quick. SZ0. Okay, and now we're going to go into face select mode. Just scale those down a little more. Okay, so select those, and okay. We'll just do one at a time. So let's do that. And unselect all of those. So we just really want those three faces right there. We're going to extrude in. So hit E, hit Alt S, and then hit Shift Z. And bring that in. And now you could just move that along the x-axis a little. And we'll just have to clean that up in a moment. You know what? Let's undo all of that. It looks like we're going to want that last little piece there as well. So, instead of having those three faces, we'll want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now we don't want these edges right here though, so we can turn those off. I'll just show you how to do this one, and you can do the other two because they're all done the same way. So once again, with those all selected, X for extrude, Z to turn that off, Alt S, and then Shift Z to bring that in. And that should be a good amount. Right here, go into vertex mode. I'll just bring these over there. And there we go. And if you wanted to sharpen those up, once again, you could just add in some extra edge loops right there. And I just do that 2 more times. So I'll do that really quick. Okay, and it looks like I actually finished recording the entire tutorial without recording the rest of it. So all that you missed was I finished putting these ridges into the game cartridge. And then all I did was basically go into face select mode, and I grabbed all of these faces. So these two as well. And I just extruded everything inward. So with all of them selected, I believe I hit E for extrude, Z to turn that off, Alt S, and then also we don't want to scale along the X. So Shift X. And it brings that in. I'm gonna undo that. And basically that gives us a slight indentation here, you could see, and in the front as well, which we're going to put the label of the game cartridge itself on there when we texture it in the next tutorial. So that's all I did. And we'll just have to remember that inside of the model, once you do that, there will be some extra faces along here once you extrude it in that you'll want to delete, so it doesn't have those weird bumps in it anymore. And that's literally all we had to do for the cartridge. That is done now. So just make sure to go to the object panel and rename it as something you can remember, either game or game cartridge, whatever works. And you just save that. And now I'll just create a new project real quick. Delete our cube. And we're just going to bring in all the objects into one scene. So you'll just go to File, Append, find our projects. So I'll grab the console first. Go to Object. And, oh, let's go back actually. Yeah, the SNES Console 2 should be it. Object, so take the console, link append from library, and now you can see that brings the whole model into our new scene. Now we'll just do the same thing for the controller. I'm gonna append, grab controller 2 or whatever you called yours, SNES controller, bring that in, and to scale it properly, what I did was you rotate it 90 degrees real quick. And what I found is that the controller is about the length from the front of the console to the back of this section right here. So that's about correct. Rotate it back. All right, and then the last thing, we'll just bring in the game as well. So go to Game Cartridge, Object, Game, bring that up. And now for this one, I just scaled it down so that it would fit within the actual game slot in the system. And then I just moved it down until basically just this ridge right here was sticking up a little. So turn it like that. And that's about it. I'll add a little floor plan real quick. Scale that up. Move that up. And just to get a quick view of this, I'm going to change this to a sun. Use nodes. Change strength to 5. And let's just take a look real quick. That's a little high. Let's do 3. And cool. So that's going to be it for this epically long tutorial. And then the next tutorial we will go over materials, texturing, and lighting and rendering this scene. We'll also add in the wires, and we'll add in the little controller port right here. And I'll also go over very quickly modeling that little instruction booklet. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.